Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Well, that wasn't Nat King Cole with Unforgettable, but he's given us an unforgettable start this morning here on Wednesday, October the 28th. Thank you very much, James, very much. Oh, and by the way, listeners, yeah, it's a real nice cake here. Peggy's place did that, and she did a wonderful job. So thank you, Jim.
Jim planned a beautiful birthday day for you. Bless your heart and bless Jim's heart. He's such a good egg.
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Ash did a pretty good job. They didn't throw him away.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate that very sincerely.
Bless.
Kudos. We always try to start Viewpoint with a kudo or two. And Jim, I don't know the technical name of the wind farm companies that gave the city a substantial amount of money. And with that money, they're going to be able to rehab Washington Park, which was now Scully Park, appropriately so, and also the venerable old Latham Park, where we had that wonderful bandstand. And that bandstand needed some refurbishing. So kudos to the wind farm folks who gave Lincoln that much money. If somebody wants to call in with the correct name of it, we'll accept that. 648-5510. Let's get on to some serious business here this morning.
Well, I think...
As if getting old wasn't serious
I'm
enough.
sure Theresa will agree with me. There's nothing more serious than your birthday. Right, Theresa?
Absolutely.
Yes. Our guest is Theresa Moore. She is the Logan County Clerk. She is the one who, by a week from today, will probably be...
worn out.
Yes, and collapsed in a corner somewhere. It'll all be over, and you'll not hear any more political ads.
God, that'd be a wonderful thing.
Theresa Moore is, as I said, the Logan County Clerk, one of the denizens of the Logan County Courthouse, where they're doing substantial work, are they not?
Yes, just beginning. Should have fencing and maybe scaffolding up as early as next week, so it's going to be real.
It's going to be, it's much needed, and it's timely, and thank goodness they saw fit to bite the bullet.
Absolutely.
You know, Judith K., I've said this often, and this gives me an opportunity to repeat it again, and I mean this. We have some folks up there in that courthouse who are dedicated public servants.
Amen.
Starting with Teresa's office, we go to all floors down there. Folks are really doing a good job, so we're getting a good bang for our buck. One complaint I had, the sheriff's deputy, very nice gentleman, I'm sure, offered to help me up the steps, and that upset me a little bit.
He didn't realize you were as young as you are.
No, and by the way, that was just kind of typical of what goes on at our Logan County Courthouse. We got a great bunch of folks up there, so
well, thank you.
Let's get on to some serious business.
Well, they've got that. You being they, have got that just totally organized.
I just heard from Mike Pence.
Huh?
I just heard from Mike Pence.
Oh.
On my phone just rang.
I hope he's doing well.
Do you want to take it? We'll wait.
I've been up there to vote twice, but not for myself both times. The first time I went.
Yeah, let's clarify that. You didn't vote twice.
To vote early, and the second time I took my friend to vote early. And, boy, they had a well-oiled machine going there.
Yes, I want to comment about that just a minute. Number one, I was a little disappointed because I didn't get to go in the clerk's office and vote, as they've done for years. But they one-upped us on this and had it really organized. You just go in that little special room there in the courthouse on the first floor. And it's just seamless.
Yes.
Good.
Really,
glad to hear. We were a little nervous about moving it.
Really well done. And is it too late for anybody to use that office? No,
we can vote all the way through Monday before the election, November 2nd.
So if you don't think you can go on Tuesdays, and I'm serious about this, folks, we have a little fun up here, but I'm very serious about this. For goodness sakes, vote. I've voted in every election since I became eligible. I'd even vote for the dog catcher if that were a voting office, because I think so seriously of the privilege of having a hand in our government. And you can complain all you want, and Lord knows there's plenty of room to complain about what we've got going on today. But go ahead and vote, for goodness sakes. And so if you can't vote on Tuesday, you can go to the courthouse and go through security and turn immediately left, and they'll take good care of you there.
It will be open tomorrow evening, Thursday the 29th, until 6:30.
Okay.
And Saturday will be open. The
Nobody has
Halloween will
any
be open till
excuses
noon.
then.
Right.
And you have to go in the doors that are on the post office side
Yes.
of the courthouse.
Correct.
So bear
Don't take
that
your-
in mind.
And don't take your cell phone in.
Right.
No. But you done good, Mrs.
Well,
Clerk.
thank you, ma'am.
Really good.
It's a well-oiled machine. We have a lot of good help.
It's now that we've been so nice and complimentary, dare I ask you how you came along with the voting by mail? Because across the country, there have been one and another who've had a heck of a time.
Right. We've been very fortunate in Logan County. It's not been an issue. I had to write them down. I couldn't remember. We've had over 2,500 vote-by-mail ballots returned already.
Really?
So a lot of people are taking advantage of that, and I think because of the fear of the pandemic that they couldn't get to the polling
Yes.
place. So it's worked out really well. But with this new Senate bill this year, we had to have hired 3 election judges to come in and to process all those, compare the signatures, and then put them in the machine. And it's worked out very well.
Would you hazard a guess that it's presidential race that has driven the number of extra voters?
Yes.
You're nodding yes.
What will they do if they catch this Hanyak that lit paper on fire and put it in the ballot deposit?
10 years is what
Box.
I'd do for him.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Correct.
10 years?
Well, it's a felony.
You know, you don't have to be stupid, but that guy really elevated it to an art form, didn't he?
Well, it just my Harold Trapp's comment, people are no damn good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And that was a fear of putting out deposit boxes, that who would watch them, that someone could get in there and put them on fire or spill something in there to destroy those ballots. So that's why we just kept ours inside the courthouse where it's secured, it's on camera, and as you know, those guards are more than helpful to anybody that comes in. They've learned more about election this year than they care to know, I think.
Yeah, they are that, by the way, from the time that security was started, from the inception date. That's always been a seamless thing to go into the courthouse. It's never been a problem. They're always very gracious, very courteous. They're businesslike. I mean, don't yank your chain, but it's not been a problem to go to the courthouse.
And it's been a great feeling for us to know that they're down there and it's
in
secure.
these times.
Yeah, it's a different time now, so
It is.
very, very needed, and especially now with the extra traffic with the vote by mail. They're directing them right in there. They're helping people. That's huge help.
For the vote by mail type people, now when would you have to hustle yourself off to the post office box to put your ballot
It
in?
needs to be postmarked by Election Day.
The election day, you've got plenty of time.
You know, that
Yes.
that doesn't give your office much time to process things.
Well, we have 14 days after the election to receive those ballots.
You know, that's the first time I've heard that mentioned.
And you know, it's not new. I just
Well-
think people are just never aware that there's that
But
much time.
now they're talking about, well, by golly, if it's not in by 6 o'clock that evening, and
Because
all
different
these-
states have different laws.
Okay.
You know, Theresa, you're too young. But
Oh, God love you.
In the good old days, well, people like to talk like that. In the good old days, election time, they had this big blackboard down in the rotunda of the courthouse.
Still
And
in the
guys
basement.
Guys would drop in from Burtonview and Beeston and Broadwell and wherever, you know, and stand around and chew the fat and visit with them and watch the election results come in, blackboard and white chalk.
Yep.
And it was fun to do that.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me a little bit of, as I call a slice of Americana, kind of a Norman Rockwell thing, you know.
True.
Old folks in the community watch and see what.
Paul Gleason was always.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. Paul Gleason. He loved to do that. That was his shtick to be
Bless
in charge
his
of that.
heart.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
A good old
648.
teacher from District 27.
648-5510. Now, somebody may have a serious question about voting. Not sure how to go about voting if you don't go on next Tuesday, the 3rd. So Theresa Moore is here to answer any questions that we have, and she'll dazzle you one way or the other. She'll get to answer to you. If not directly, she'll do it by mail.
So there. Now, there's still some question in people's mind about the tax issues. Do you think you could give us some Reader's Digest version of what the deal is?
We can't give any advice on what's on the ballot.
No, I
but
know
the
you can't give
secretaries-
advice, but can you kind of clarify?
We have those pamphlets there at the polling place from Secretary of State explaining
To
the
explain
tax.
that issue.
That's all we're going to say about that.
When you all right, we understand.
Well, that was
we
brief.
understand that, but correct me if I'm wrong
thanks.
about this. But the essence of it boils down to, if I'm correct, that if that is successful, that'll go open up the floodgates. Well, I better rephrase that. That'll open up an opportunity for the legislators to do whatever they wish to do with taxes. Am I correct in that
seems
assumption?
to be the consensus.
But on the
opinion.
other hand, I understand that there's already legislation in place that allows the raising of taxes without any referendum.
Right, that's what they say, so.
So,
If they say it, is it true? I mean, I've heard so much lately that I think,
Judy's
is
age
that
is getting to
true?
her too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Pardon?
So we did put that on the ballot, so we don't give any opinion
say
on
we just have a
or
commercial.
explanation to it. It has to come from them.
From them being the legislature?
Uh-huh. In your little pamphlet you should have received in the mail.
Well, sometimes I kind of wonder if they really want us to understand things, or if they just want us to take a
silly
stab
girl.
in the dark.
Silly girl you are. You know what? I just realized we have a referendum on the part of our sponsors, and if we don't recognize them pretty quickly, we might get voted out of program. So go right ahead, Mr. Ash, when you're ready, sir. Right, back live in the studio here at WLCN. Program of Viewpoint, of course, appearing each Wednesday morning, 0850 to 0900 hours. A program that tries to bring people in from around the county that tell us something we ought to know about in county life. And this morning we have a very, very important lady who, boy, she's busy now. She's going to be a lot busier in the next week, too. Go ahead and introduce our guest, Judith Kay.
Oh, didn't I even do that?
There'll be some dead mic while Jim and I recover from that bone moth. Go right ahead.
I think they're making fun of me.
You did. No. Why,
I'm 81
would I do
and
that
it's
to you?
never happened before.
Would I do that to you?
Yeah, oh, yes, in a heartbeat.
No.
In a heartbeat.
Reintroduce.
We are talking with Theresa Moore, and
Thank
she
goodness.
is the Logan County Clerk, and she is very busy. And I trust a week from today, you really are going to hit the pillows and take a rest, aren't you?
I hope so.
Yes. And how are your office people holding up?
So they're working a lot of hours also, but they're troopers. They come in early, stay late. So we started packing the equipment yesterday, getting ready to start delivering to polling places on Saturday. That'll be our first delivery. So we have a lot of extra
And
equipment.
physically, that's a very big job to get all this voting equipment out to these various precincts.
Correct.
Now, how many
Yeah.
voting places do we have right now, Theresa?
17.
7-0?
That's a lot of
17.
equipment.
17. Right.
1-7. That's good. That's more like it. 1-7.
Now, a lady called, and she just tested positive for the coronavirus, and she wondered how in the name of thunder she was going to vote.
So tomorrow, Thursday, is the last day we can mail out a ballot. But we do have an application online, and you can apply online, and it comes right to our office. So you don't have to bring that application in. You can email it to us,
Okay.
and then tomorrow will be the last day.
And we do have, Theresa, put your headset on, please, dear. And we do have a caller. Yes, I think I have my headset on. Go right ahead, caller.
Good morning, and first of all, my husband and I would like to wish our friend Bill a very happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, dear.
Many more.
Thank you very much.
And Mrs. Moore, thank you for all you're doing. And just a question, if you can answer the tax referendum, so people know, if you do not vote a yes or a no, they automatically take that as a yes. Just wanted to let folks know.
Now that's a very important comment.
Yes.
If you do not vote, your vote will be considered a yes on this tax referendum.
Is that right?
That's what Dora said. Yeah. So go right.
That's what it says at the very last line on the ballot.
Well, that's Judy's part. She didn't
somewhere
read the
in
small
all
print.
the legalese, that's what it says.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I appreciate that. And we will say good morning to you and your young man there. Thank you very, very much. That's nice of you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So that's an important thing to know. If you do not vote on this tax issue, it will be considered a yes.
I believe that's the last line.
That's a pretty sneaky way of trying to sneak that across, you know. That's what they do down there in Springfield. They figure sneaky ways to get things done, to get in your pocket somewhere along the line. By the way, speaking of our legislators, I note that reading in the Springfield Journal the other day, our Representative Tim Butler was tested positive for COVID. So let's all of us wish him well. Tim has done a good job representing his district here, and he's an honest cat. So let's wish him for a quick recovery. Go right ahead, Judith K. You were starting to ask about this matter of somebody who has the COVID problem,
Yes.
and doesn't want to get out or can't get out to vote. So how's that taken care of,
So
Ms. Moore?
tomorrow will be her last day
Tomorrow's her last day.
to apply for a vote by mail ballot, and the last day we can mail it.
Now, how does one go about that? You have to do it. You just can't pick up the phone and say, "Send me a ballot."
Correct, because we have to have a signed application first. So if you can get somebody to bring it in for you if you're not able to leave the home, or you can do it online, but we'll have to have it by tomorrow.
Well, obviously you can't loiter too long. The election day is here.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't plan for a positive test result from the coronavirus either.
Right,
So-
and I think that's why they started this whole vote by mail so early, to give people the opportunity that this could happen at the last minute, to be prepared.
Run through your office hours that you're keeping between now and election day.
So we're open regular hours today till 4:30. Tomorrow, Thursday, the 29th, we're open 8:30 till 6 o'clock at night. And on Saturday, we'll be open 8:30 till noon, all for early voting,
So
or to return a
essentially,
ballot.
somebody can't say, "Oh, I didn't have time," because you're creating extra time for them.
Correct. And did I say 6 or 6:30 for tomorrow? It should be 6:30. I might have misspoke.
How are your people holding up? Do they fall asleep if they sit down?
They don't have time to sit down, so that's what keeps them
Oh,
moving.
well, that takes care of that then.
And so we have 1 or 2 girls downstairs to do, because
Yes.
we have to limit the
Do
amount
that
of people
voting downstairs.
that we
By
have
the
in
way,
there.
as I said before, that's really quite seamless. It's very easy.
Well, it's good to hear,
It's
because
faster than. Yeah.
we don't know what the public thinks of it.
Now the question that I've been asked is, can you still register to vote?
Absolutely.
You
can
still do that.
If you have failed
Listen,
to register, you'll need to come into our office, and it's called grace period, and you'll register and you'll vote at the same time, and that's all the way through Election Day. Our office will be open on Election Day for registration.
I don't want to hear anybody say, I didn't get to register,
Right.
because you're making
It's
this
super
exceptionally easy for them.
Correct.
Now, I suppose when a person
Thank you.
goes to the polling places, you'll be observing the social distancing and masks, certainly.
Correct. They'll
And
have
the same goes for coming up to your office.
correct.
Well, we have to be aware of that because it's such a darn insidious thing.
Right. And the same thing on election day. Although you're used to not having lines, there might be a little bit longer line this time because of fewer booths, so we can separate them for the 6 feet. So you might have to wait a little bit longer. And we've also purchased pins that you'll just use that pin and take it home with you. So we're not worried about having to sanitize pins or reuse them.
Oh, now when I went to vote or early voting
Did you
at
not
the
get one?
courthouse, I used their pen, and then they were sanitizing them. You had to put them all in a special
These
little
just came in the
container.
other day. It took a while to get here. So now we have pins that you can just take.
Well, I tell you, you're sure doing your
So
part.
we owe you a pin? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. Just
She's a little
mail
better, I
it.
think.
It'll be okay.
Okay.
Well, I think I can bring her by the courthouse, and she can go through security, go get a pen. Theresa, the advent of voting machines. Of course, in the old days, they laboriously counted one ballot at a time. How long does it take to run a precinct through a counting machines?
I think the machine will take, at the night, it's all on a jump drive, so it just uploads directly to our computer. So technology, it's really fast.
So from the machine, it goes directly to the computer in the county clerk's office.
After when it comes back to our office.
And so it's accumulating those things as it goes in.
Absolutely.
And that's why you're able to report rather quickly.
Good, right. Especially the early voting, because we can shut our machine off at 7 o'clock that night, and then we can upload those results.
Are there any polling places left in Illinois, for instance, that would be all counted and processed by hand?
Oh, I can't imagine that today.
No. But,
Not in this day and age, huh?
correct.
Yeah. Well, this isn't your first rodeo or election, as the case may be.
No.
And we want to keep her around, by the way, for a little while. So
Amen.
Well,
if
thank
she comes up, let's remember that, to remember the good job that Theresa Moore does in the county clerk's office.
Amen.
Appreciate that.
That'll cost you $5.
I'll get you another cake.
And a pen.
She's not going to let me forget that, is she? She says
is
she
your-
can't remember, but she remembers that pen, doesn't she?
Yeah, there's a blessing.
You're pretty sharp, Creech. Is there one particular problem that raises itself every election time that you got to shake your head and say, well, what are we going to do about this? Is there anything that comes up in the process? Any surprises?
After all this time, I think we do pretty much
Got
the
it
same
down to
thing
a
every
science,
year, so
yeah.
it's down. But there's always that one weird thing that happens. Somebody ends up without any markers or any tape or missing a sign, minor things.
Go right ahead. That's just that's my public.
A little patriotism for you there.
Popular.
That's my phone ring, folks. Off we go into the wild blue yonder. So, that sure took care of my train of thought for a second. Your office staff. How many do you now employ?
6.
Do you have to hire
6
extra
servants.
people, though, for now, don't you?
Correct. So we've hired 3 extra judges to come in to process the vote by mails, but we are handling the early vote ourselves. But back up to that, on election day, we have great election judges. So that's one of the reasons there's no snafus on election day, because they do a great job.
It seems
As
that
Judy
there's
has.
longevity in that job.
Exactly.
Yes, and it's mostly ladies. A few gents in there,
Right.
but mostly ladies. And once again, it's not their first rodeo either, is it?
No, as you know, and when you go to vote, you recognize.
Persistent, isn't he?
I'll be back, Joe.
Stop calling.
Aren't you just glad we
I
live
love
in
this.
Logan County? I mean, what the hey?
He's probably wanting to ask a voting question, and he'll have 648-5510 be the correct number if you want to get Mr. Jim Ash, and we'll process any questions. The judges, clerks at the various precincts, they have to show up pretty early. Give us the hours that they show up.
They usually get there around 5 a.m., get everything set up.
So they have a long day.
Yes.
In the old days, before the advent of these machines, it was a long day.
Right.
And they'd be spending now next Monday baking and getting ready for the election, wouldn't they?
That's the most important part. Election judges, what you're going to bring for food. But a lot of them have discussed, and they think maybe they won't bring any food to share this year because of COVID.
Well, that's a shame.
This is the best paid public job in the world either. What do they get there?
Yeah.
$175 if they take the training. So it's a long day because the polls don't end until 7, and as you know, their job
and then they
keeps
don't
going
just
after
march
that.
out at 7 either.
Correct.
So they earn their nickel.
Yeah, a lot of paperwork to do.
Okay. I have a question. A learned listener has sent me an email and said, what is the typical turnout in a presidential election?
Our last one was 65%, but we're kind of leaning more towards 80 or 85% this year,
Really?
hopefully.
You're going
And
to,
you
you
base
expect that much?
You base that on the early voting and the voting by mail and so
No, she
forth?
based it on what CBS says.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can't predict people, so we just go with the best
Don't
we
believe
can.
that, folks. If it came from CBS, don't believe it. No, seriously, you're expecting 80%.
We're hoping.
That would be remarkable.
it'll be
We still plan for 100%. We still plan for every
Well, of
voter to
course you
show
do,
up.
yeah.
Well, you have to. A miracle could happen. They have, historically.
Right. 65% is a good number for our county, too.
Well, you think that's driven by the two hoots that are running for the greatest office in the world?
I do.
It's a sad commentary. I may lose my job about this, but that's okay. I'm old enough. I can work it out. In the greatest country in the world, we can't do any better than that for candidates. And if that gets me fired, well, tough rocks. I'll meet you down the road. But that's not a political comment. That's just a statement of one man's facts. One man's
That you calls them
opinion.
the way you sees them, doesn't you, Bill?
I try to anyway.
I think
are there any? I'm trying to. I don't want to phrase this. Any things that might come up that you hadn't expected, Mrs. Moore? As you've done this a long time now.
No, this has been different, definitely, but we've planned for the worst. We have a lot of extra equipment to take out because we have plastic shields to separate the election judges from the voters. We have lots of hand sanitizer, Clorox wipes.
See, there's
gloves.
a couple of things we didn't think about. You have to; those are just the good little side things that you mark down. And don't forget hand sanitizer and disinfectant wipes.
Right, we have all that there.
Do you find that
this is costing you $2.98 too, isn't it?
Correct, but we did get grant money to cover anything from State
The
Board of
extra?
Elections for anything
nice.
extra that we hadn't originally budgeted for.
whence cometh that money? Where is that grant? What grant is that?
Through the CARES Act.
Is that a fact? Yeah. Well, that's very decent.
So will these partitions that you had to purchase belong to Logan County then from henceforth and then on in?
Correct. So, is this our life from now on? We'll have them, but if not, we have a lot of equipment we're storing somewhere.
Well, see, now that's another thing. I hate to be such a fuddy-duddy, but all this has to be provided for. You got to find a place to store it. It'd be kind of like at home. How many old photographs do you need?
Right. And I want to say thank you to the Highway Department. We got a shipment in of the shields for the election judges' tables on a pallet, and they graciously unloaded the pallet down and storing it for us down there at the Highway Department. Otherwise, it would have been in the courthouse trying to get it to the basement.
Yeah.
So they were very helpful getting that.
Well, now in addition to everything else, you've got the big urban removal going on downtown too, you know? So that makes a difference. Well, you're having a heck of a year, aren't you?
Yes, it just can't get any better, can
Or for bad luck, you'd have no luck at all.
You could put down 2020 as one of your banner years as a county clerk in Logan County.
Let's hope this is the worst one then.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to repeat, would
No,
you?
I don't think so.
No. What are some of the issues that you've had to deal with that we might not even think about?
Moving polling places, but we were fortunate enough that everyone still was letting us use that as a polling place. Some other counties have had to move their location, and that's an issue too. As you know, in Logan County, we don't have a lot of, our little townships don't have any extra buildings to use, so we've been grateful for that. All of our polling places will be open on Election Day, so you'll just go to your regular polling place.
As you talk to your counterparts, hither and yon, what kinds of things are they facing that you're saying, whew, thanks I dodged that bullet?
I think we're all pretty similar, everyone you talk to. So then we talk to each other about where did you order this from? Where'd you get the best deal on the wipes or the shields or anything like that? So
Now, Mrs. Moore, did the county clerks, we have 102 counties, do they have an association, regular or
yes,
scheduled meetings to get together to discuss their mutual problems?
normally we do, but we've only been by Zoom lately. And of course, at this time, we don't even have time to get together to Zoom.
Yes.
We do share emails if something happened. We each know what the other one's
But
solving.
surely you've all been involved in this long enough so you can really quickly call some compadre somewhere else
Correct.
and say, hey, has this come up there and what'd you do?
I probably do that every day. Call a neighboring county. Say, so what did you do about this? Or
Yes.
have you had this issue? And
Now, do you have occasion from time to time to call the Secretary of State's office to ask about voting procedures? Do they have anything to...
State Board of Elections.
State Board of Elections, that's your...
We're in constant contact with them.
And how does one go about getting on the State Board of Elections?
They have a website and they have a board there. You mean you want to be on their board?
Yeah, I thought I'd take care of that for my
We would appreciate
In your
that.
spare time?
We would like your opinion on there.
couple of radio shows to take all the spare time I want this at this age. But is that do you know if that is an appointive or an elective job? I suspect that's an appointive job.
Correct.
State Board of Elections.
How big a board is it? How many?
I've been on a Zoom with them, and I think there's maybe only 4 or 5 that were on there that time.
And then they kind of think up the rules and regulations?
And like if there's an objection to petitions or things like that goes through the state board, then the board rules
Can you
on that
define petitions?
too. So people running for president had to file their petitions, and then someone objects, saying, I don't think all those signatures are correct. Things like that. Or
I can't imagine a board in Illinois saying, I guess we won't accept Joe Dokes as a presidential candidate.
Kanye West didn't make it on the Illinois ballot.
He did in some places, didn't he?
I just heard that on the radio, yes. But
648-5510. Our guest this morning, Theresa Moore, one of the great county office holders who gives us a lot of nice service up there in the courthouse. County Clerk Theresa Moore is with us this morning. If you have any questions, this is the election. If you hadn't heard, by the way, you've been in a hole somewhere. But in any event, you may have an election question, and Mrs. Moore would be happy to field that for you. And or a comment. We're very nice to her now, or we cut you off. 648-5510. Theresa, you annually, do you kind of try to plan yourself a little downtime after the election time? Because it's a pretty stressful time.
well, we're already beginning work on the city primary that's coming up in February, and then we'll have the consolidated election in April, which we're starting to work on that all at the same time that this election's going on.
Every other month you have an election?
Seems like it to you
Yes.
and your clerks.
Like
yeah.
it never ends, right?
Well, Holy Friday, that's a lot of elections.
Petitions already circulating for city offices, which is Lincoln City's the only one that has a primary in Logan County. And then all the park boards, townships, those type offices are circulating for April.
Now, folks out there on the street, Mr. and Mrs. Joe Dokes, Mrs. Dokes is very nice, by the way. They think in terms
She's
of
the pretty one, isn't she?
Yeah, I noted that. They think in terms of the county clerk as being the election place. It's much more than that. Tell us about some of the duties of the county clerk, how you serve our community.
The county clerk's also the recorder in Logan County. We record all the land documents in Logan County. We pay the bills. We do accounts payable for the county. We do birth, death, marriage records. We do assumed names. We do sold taxes. After taxes go to the tax sale, then they come to our office for redemption. We do tax extension. All the levies, budgets are filed in our office. Did I forget anything else?
How long have you been the clerk for Logan County?
Since 2018.
Are you getting tired?
Well, it's only a couple of years now.
Right. I've worked there since
I was
2007.
going to say, you were there in that office a long time.
But it's fun. It really is.
Your definition of fun and mine must vary.
It's what she makes of the job, because they're doing a real service to our community.
Amen.
Some old codger will come in and wants to know where Aunt Boo was buried, and she has to go see. Is that where they start with your records?
Right. We do genealogy too, and so that's time consuming too.
Do you?
That's become a very big thing.
Yeah. If you come in wanting us to help you search,
So first off, you have to know that Grandpa was born in Logan County, right?
right?
And then you can trace it from there. Now, I'm not from here. Some of the old timers are real quick to remind a person that, well, you're not from here. You know, like hatched on a rock someplace. But at any rate, can you help refer a person to where they might go to start a genealogical search if they aren't from here?
Sure. We have contacts in other places too, phone numbers, websites, and we belong to a genealogy website. We could probably search to see, at least get you in the right direction.
By the way, we might give a nice little shout out to the Genealogical Society there on North Chicago Street, just across from the depot. Those folks are very dedicated, and
we send a lot of people over there.
There's a lot of information that you can glean from the Logan County Genealogical Society. They do a lot historically for us too.
Yeah, they're very helpful for our office also.
Very dedicated people in there. And thank goodness, because there's usually only about a half dozen. You know, doing a volunteer job like that, if you only got 1 or 2, 3 volunteers, it's a tough job.
It's a full-time job, though.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, the people must be dedicated.
Oh, absolutely.
They've probably been there as a volunteer since Hector was a pup, huh?
Right. And it is time-consuming once you start a genealogy search, too.
It's a little addictive?
So they have to spend some time with you, to help you.
You know, I volunteered there for a while, and they finally had to ease me out of office because my assignment was to try to correlate obituaries. And I'd get so involved in reading those doggone obituaries, I never got any work done.
Right. And we find that, too, with records in our office.
Yeah,
once you start searching some of the old records, it's interesting. You have to stop and read them.
Oh, see, I wouldn't last in your office for a week because that's what would happen to me. I'd think, wow, how about that, and get to reading it.
Yes, because everything was handwritten then, and there was a lot of detail on a death certificate or things like that. It's really interesting.
Now,
how interesting.
And the clerk's office, your associates in your office, their pay scale, would it be commensurate with, say, Logan County or McLean County? You have to establish a floor somewhere on there.
Right,
so,
and I'd say we're pretty even.
Are we? Yes. Well, that
counties.
Speaks well for us that we can do that, because those are bigger counties with a lot more resources.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And these girls are doing the same amount of work for the same.
Well, you must screen your associates up there for genealogy, not genealogy, well, certainly for that, but for being nice to people. You hit that front door and you know you're going to be treated with a smile. And how may I help you? And that's important.
That's nice to say. Thank you.
Well, as I say before, we've got a good courthouse.
We have.
Except for that sheriff who wanted to help me up the steps. Which I appreciated, by the way, very much.
Did you let him help you?
I told him I could make it myself.
Well, we're just kind of at a little bit of a disadvantage there because everything isn't working the way it always has right now because of the rehabbing, which it needed desperately. I'm sure you'll agree on that.
Correct. Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you, Theresa, so much for being with us today. Give us your
Thanks for
hours
having me.
one more time here so that people will know where they can go and when they can go.
We're
Please
open-
and thank you.
We're open today until 4:30 for early voting. We're open tomorrow from 8:30 till 6:30 for early voting, or to bring your ballot back and drop it in the drop box if you'd like. We'll be open Friday, regular hours. Saturday, we're open 8:30 till noon. And then Monday, we'll be open till 4:30. That'll be the last day of early voting is on Monday.
Well, we're lucky to have a representative of one of our county associates, one of our county employees, one of the major offices in the county. Thank you, Theresa, for sharing your time, because I know your schedule is pretty busy right now. 648-5510 would be the question to call next week. So, in any event, thank you very much, Theresa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look what